unveiling the hidden figures women in the Bible. The Bible, a tapestry woven with threads of history, prophecy, and divine revelation, often brings to mind towering figures like Moses, Abraham, and David. Yet nestled within its sacred pages lies a captivating ensemble of women whose stories are as compelling as their male counterparts. These women, far from being mere footnotes in the grand narrative of Scripture, played pivotal roles, shaping events, influencing leaders, and leaving an indelible mark on the course of history. Their narratives, rich in faith, courage, and resilience, offer timeless lessons that transcend cultural and historical boundaries. From the genesis of humanity in the Garden of Eden to the nascent days of the early church, women in the Bible defied societal norms and embraced destinies far grander than the limited roles often ascribed to them. They were queens and servants, prophetesses and judges, mothers and warriors, each contributing uniquely to God's unfolding plan. Their stories, often intertwined with those of the patriarchs, offer a nuanced and multifaceted perspective on faith, obedience, and the enduring love of God. As we delve into the lives of these remarkable women, we will uncover the societal structures and cultural norms that shaped their world. We will explore the challenges they faced, the triumphs they celebrated, and the unwavering faith that guided their steps. Through their stories, we gain a deeper understanding of God's heart for all people, regardless of gender, social standing, or past mistakes. The women of the Bible, though separated from us by millennia, speak with a resonance that echoes through the ages. Their stories are not confined to the pages of an ancient text, but continue to inspire, challenge, and empower us today. By engaging with their narratives, we embark on a journey of discovery, uncovering timeless truths about faith, perseverance, and the extraordinary ways in which God works through ordinary individuals to accomplish His purposes. Challenging patriarchy, a divine perspective. To truly appreciate the impact of women in the Bible, it's crucial to understand the patriarchal context in which they lived. Ancient societies, including those depicted in the Bible, were largely male-dominated. Men held positions of authority in government, religion, and family structures. Women, while respected for their roles as wives and mothers, were often relegated to the domestic sphere, their voices muted in the public square. Yet the Bible, rather than simply mirroring the prevailing cultural norms, offers a radical counter-narrative. It presents a God who sees beyond gender, who values women as equal partners in creation, and who bestows upon them unique gifts and callings. From the very beginning, in the creation account of Genesis, we see a God who intentionally creates both male and female in His image, imbuing them with equal dignity and worth. Throughout the Scriptures, we encounter women who defy societal expectations and step boldly into roles traditionally reserved for men. Deborah, a judge and prophetess, leads Israel to victory in battle. Esther, a queen, risks her life to save her people from annihilation. These stories challenge us to re-examine our own assumptions about gender roles and to embrace a more expansive view of God's design for both men and women. The Bible, while acknowledging the realities of a patriarchal world, consistently affirms the inherent dignity and worth of women. It celebrates their contributions, both in the private and public spheres, and highlights their vital role in God's redemptive plan. By showcasing women who challenged the status quo and lived out their faith with boldness and courage, the Bible invites us to do the same, to embrace the fullness of who God has created us to be, regardless of societal expectations. Beyond the veil of time-enduring relevance. The stories of women in the Bible, while rooted in a specific time and culture, hold enduring relevance for us today. They offer timeless lessons on faith, courage, resilience, and the unwavering love of God. Their struggles resonate with our own, reminding us that we are not alone in our doubts, fears, and uncertainties. Their triumphs inspire us to persevere in the face of adversity, knowing that with God, all things are possible. In a world that often seeks to define us by narrow and limiting categories, the women of the Bible stand as beacons of hope and empowerment. They remind us that God sees beyond outward appearances, that He values our unique gifts and talents, and that He calls us to live lives of purpose and significance. Their stories challenge us to embrace our true identities, to step boldly into the roles God has prepared for us, and to make a difference in the world around us. As we journey through the lives of these remarkable women, we will discover the transformative power of faith, the importance of resilience in the face of adversity, and the boundless love of a God who sees us, knows us, and calls us by name. Their stories, though woven into the fabric of ancient history, hold a message that transcends time and culture, a message that speaks to the very core of who we are as human beings created in the image of God. The women of the Bible, far from being relics of a bygone era, are our contemporaries in faith. Their stories invite us into a deeper relationship with God, challenge us to live lives of courage and conviction, and inspire us to leave a legacy of faith for generations to come. As we delve into their narratives, may we be challenged, encouraged, and transformed by the enduring power of their examples. Eve, the mother of all living. The story of Eve, the first woman, unfolds in the book of Genesis, a book of beginnings, a book that lays the foundation for the entire biblical narrative. Created in the cool of the day after the animals but before the Sabbath, Eve emerges as a testament to God's creative power and divine intentionality. She's not an afterthought, nor is she a lesser creation. Eve, whose very name means life, is presented as a vibrant, essential counterpart to Adam, formed not from the dust of the earth, but from Adam's own rib, signifying a profound connection and an inherent equality. The biblical text tells us that God, upon observing Adam's solitude, declares, "It is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him." Genesis 2:18. The Hebrew word for helper used here, Ezer, is significant. It is not a term that denotes subservience or inferiority. Rather, it is a word used elsewhere in the Bible to describe God Himself, a powerful force coming alongside to aid, support, and strengthen. Eve, then, is not merely a companion to Adam, but a vital partner, created to share in his life, his work, and his dominion over creation. Eve's creation is a testament to the beauty and wonder of God's design for humanity. She embodies the feminine genius, a unique blend of strength, tenderness, and intuition. As the mother of all living, she becomes the wellspring of life, nurturing and sustaining future generations. Eve's story, though often overshadowed by the events that follow, stands as a powerful affirmation of women's inherent worth, their vital role in creation, and their integral place in God's eternal plan. From the very beginning, Eve is portrayed as a woman of substance, a woman of strength, a woman who reflects the very image of God. Her creation marks a pivotal moment in the biblical narrative, signifying the completion of God's good creation and the establishment of a sacred covenant between God and humanity. Eve, the mother of all living, embodies the potential for life, love, and relationship that God intended for all people. The Garden of Eden, a lush paradise teeming with life and abundance, serves as the idyllic backdrop for the early chapters of Genesis. It is here, amidst the beauty and bounty of creation, that Adam and Eve are given dominion over the earth and all its creatures. The garden, a sanctuary of peace and harmony, reflects the perfect order and balance of God's creation. Within the garden, Adam and Eve are given only one prohibition. They are not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This tree, placed at the very center of the garden, represents a boundary, a limit set by God, not to stifle their freedom, but to protect them from harm. Obedience to this command signifies their trust in God's wisdom and their willingness to live within the parameters of His perfect design. The Garden of Eden, though a physical location, also represents a spiritual state, a state of innocence, purity, and unbroken fellowship with God. Adam and Eve, naked and unashamed, walk with God in the cool of the day, enjoying intimate communion with their Creator. Theirs is a life of freedom and abundance, lived in perfect harmony with God, with each other, and with the natural world. The Garden of Eden, with its beauty, its bounty, and its single defining prohibition, sets the stage for the drama that unfolds. It is here, in this paradise of God's own making, that humanity will face its first test, a test of obedience, a test of trust, a test with consequences that will reverberate throughout history. Into the tranquility of the garden slithers the serpent, a creature of cunning and deceit, described in the book of Revelation as that ancient serpent who is the devil, or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. The serpent, embodying the very essence of temptation, targets Eve, engaging her in conversation as she tends the garden. His words, dripping with honeyed deception, are designed to sow seeds of doubt and discontent in her heart. Did God really say, "You must not eat from any tree in the garden"? The serpent asks, subtly twisting God's words, introducing an element of doubt. Eve, initially hesitant, corrects the serpent, affirming God's command but also revealing a vulnerability, a chink in her armor of faith. The serpent seizes upon this opening, boldly contradicting God, declaring, "You will not certainly die," and then appealing to Eve's desire for knowledge and wisdom, whispering, "For God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." Eve, her gaze fixed upon the forbidden fruit, now sees it in a new light. The fruit, once a symbol of God's prohibition, now represents a gateway to knowledge, to wisdom, to a godlike state. The serpent's words have taken root in her heart, creating a longing for something more, something beyond the boundaries of God's command. The pivotal moment arrives. Eve, her desire for knowledge overriding her obedience to God, reaches out and plucks the fruit from the tree. She takes a bite, savoring its sweetness, and then offers it to Adam, who is with her. He too eats, and in that instant the world as they know it is irrevocably changed. The choice has been made, the boundary crossed, the consequences set in motion. The consequences of Adam and Eve's disobedience are swift and severe. Their eyes are opened, but not in the way they had imagined. Instead of attaining godlike knowledge, they are overcome with shame, their nakedness, once a symbol of innocence, now a source of humiliation. They hide from God, their fellowship shattered, their relationship fractured. God, in His infinite sorrow, confronts Adam and Eve, holding them accountable for their actions. The ground is cursed for Adam's sake. Thorns and thistles will plague his labor, and he will toil by the sweat of his brow. To Eve, God declares, "I will make your pains in childbearing very severe. With painful labor you will give birth to children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you." Pain, toil, and broken relationships become the hallmarks of a fallen world, a world now separated from its Creator. Yet even in the midst of judgment, God offers a glimmer of hope, a promise of redemption. He speaks of a future descendant of Eve who will crush the serpent's head, a prophecy pointing towards the ultimate victory of good over evil, of life over death, of redemption over sin. Eve's story, though marked by tragedy and loss, is ultimately a story of hope. She becomes the mother of all living, her legacy intertwined with the pain of childbirth, the challenges of human relationships, and the enduring promise of God's redeeming grace. Through her descendants, the line of redemption will flow, culminating in the birth of Jesus, the one who will ultimately conquer sin and death, restoring humanity to its rightful place in God's eternal kingdom. Sarah, the wife of Abraham, holds a place of honor in the biblical narrative as a woman of remarkable faith and unwavering devotion to God's promises. Her story, like the arid landscape she often traversed, is marked by seasons of both barrenness and unexpected fruitfulness, testing her trust in God's timing and challenging her to embrace the fullness of His plan, even when it unfolded in ways she had not anticipated. We first encounter Sarah, then known as Sarai, in the book of Genesis, where her story becomes inextricably linked with God's call to Abraham to leave his homeland and embark on a journey to a land that God would show him. It is a call to faith, a call to step out into the unknown with only God's promise as a guide. Sarah, without hesitation, joins her husband on this pilgrimage, demonstrating her own unwavering faith and her steadfast commitment to God's purpose for their lives. God's promise to Abraham is as audacious as it is specific. "I will make you into a great nation and I will bless you. I will make your name great and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you I will curse. And all peoples on earth will be blessed through you." Genesis 12:2-3. This promise, however, hinges on a crucial detail. Abraham will have a son, an heir to carry on his name and inherit the blessings God has promised. But Sarah, as the narrative repeatedly reminds us, is barren, unable to conceive. Sarah's barrenness becomes a defining struggle in her life, a source of deep longing, a constant reminder of the seemingly impossible nature of God's promise. In a culture that often equated a woman's worth with her ability to bear children, Sarah's inability to conceive carries with it a heavy weight of social stigma and personal shame. Yet, despite the challenges, Sarah clings to God's promises, her faith unwavering, her hope anchored in the one who had called her and her husband on this extraordinary journey. Hagar, an Egyptian woman and Sarah's maidservant, enters the biblical narrative not as a central protagonist, but as a figure seemingly relegated to the margins, her story intertwined with the complexities of a patriarchal society and the often messy dynamics of a family grappling with infertility, cultural expectations, and the weight of divine promises. Yet despite her seemingly secondary role, Hagar emerges as a woman of remarkable strength, resilience, and profound spiritual depth. Hagar's story is at its core a story of vulnerability and exploitation. In a desperate attempt to facilitate God's promise of an heir for Abraham, Sarah, in accordance with cultural customs of the time, offers Hagar to her husband as a concubine. Hagar, a woman with little power or agency, becomes a pawn in a plan orchestrated by those with greater social standing, her body a vessel for another woman's longing, her future uncertain and subject to the whims of those who hold her fate in their hands. Despite the circumstances surrounding her pregnancy, Hagar's encounter with God in the wilderness reveals a profound truth. She is not invisible, not forgotten, not insignificant in the eyes of the divine. As she flees from Sarah's harsh treatment, Pregnant and alone in the desolate wilderness, God appears to her, acknowledging her suffering, affirming her worth, and promising to bless her unborn child. Hagar's response to this encounter is both poignant and profound. She gives God a name, El Roi, meaning the God who sees me. In the midst of her despair, she recognizes that even in her suffering, even in her marginalization, she is seen, she is known, she is loved by the God who created her. Hagar's story, though marked by pain and hardship, becomes a testament to God's faithfulness to those who are overlooked and marginalized, a reminder that He sees our suffering, hears our cries, and offers hope and comfort in the midst of our struggles. The arrival of Ishmael, Hagar's son, into Abraham and Sarah's household introduces a new layer of complexity to their already intricate family dynamic. Ishmael, though born through unconventional means, is nonetheless Abraham's son, a living testament to God's faithfulness to His promises. Yet his presence also exacerbates tensions within the family, highlighting Sarah's unfulfilled longing for a child of her own and creating a rift between her and Hagar, the woman who has borne what she so desperately desires. Sarah, unable to contain her jealousy and resentment, lashes out at Hagar, treating her harshly and ultimately demanding that Abraham send her and Ishmael away. Abraham, torn between his love for his son and his loyalty to his wife, reluctantly agrees, sending Hagar and Ishmael out into the wilderness, their future uncertain, their fate hanging precariously in the balance. This episode in the lives of Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar raises difficult questions about the nature of God's covenant, the complexities of human relationships, and the tension between cultural norms and divine promises. It is a story that challenges us to grapple with the messiness of human nature, the consequences of our choices, and the far-reaching impact of our actions on those around us. Yet, even in the midst of this turmoil, God's faithfulness shines through. He hears Hagar's cries in the wilderness, provides for her and her son, and reaffirms His promise to make Ishmael into a great nation. God's compassion extends even to those who are marginalized and mistreated, demonstrating His unwavering commitment to fulfilling His purposes even in the midst of human brokenness and flawed decisions. Section 4. Exile and Encounter God's Faithfulness in the Wilderness. The wilderness, a place of both desolation and divine encounter, becomes the backdrop for Hagar's second encounter with God, an encounter that will forever shape her destiny and the destiny of her son. As Hagar wanders through the desolate landscape, her supplies dwindling, her hope fading, she collapses under a shrub, unable to bear the thought of witnessing her son's death. But God, the God who sees, the God who hears, does not abandon Hagar in her time of need. He speaks to her, not through a burning bush or a whirlwind, but through the gentle whisper of a breeze, a voice that soothes her fears and directs her gaze to a well of water, a source of life in the midst of a parched and barren land. God's provision, unexpected and miraculous, renews Hagar's strength and rekindles her hope. This encounter in the wilderness becomes a turning point in Hagar's story. It is here, stripped bare of all earthly comforts and securities, that she encounters the fullness of God's love and faithfulness. She returns to her son, not with empty hands or a heavy heart, but with a renewed sense of purpose, her spirit strengthened by the knowledge that she is not alone, that God is with her, guiding her steps and providing for her needs. Hagar's experience in the wilderness serves as a powerful reminder that God's faithfulness is not confined to comfortable spaces or predictable circumstances. He meets us in the midst of our struggles, provides for us in unexpected ways, and uses our experiences, even the painful ones, to draw us closer to Himself and to fulfill His purposes in our lives. Section 5. Two Mothers, Two Lineages, a Legacy of Promise and Blessing. The stories of Sarah and Hagar, though marked by rivalry, jealousy, and pain, ultimately converge in a testament to God's faithfulness to His promises and His ability to bring forth blessing even from the midst of human brokenness. Years after Hagar's exile, God fulfills His promise to Abraham and Sarah, miraculously opening Sarah's womb and enabling her to conceive and give birth to a son, Isaac. Isaac's birth, a testament to God's power and faithfulness, marks the fulfillment of the promise made to Abraham and Sarah so many years before. He is the son of promise, the heir to the covenant, the one through whom God's blessing will flow to all nations. Yet Ishmael, Hagar's son, is not forgotten. God, in His infinite mercy and grace, extends His blessing to both sons, promising to make each into a great nation. The stories of Sarah and Hagar, though seemingly separate threads in the tapestry of Genesis, are woven together by God's sovereign hand, demonstrating His ability to work through human weakness, to bring forth beauty from ashes, and to weave together a narrative of redemption and hope. Their sons, Isaac and Ishmael, though born into a complex and often turbulent family dynamic, each become patriarchs of great nations, their legacies forever intertwined, their destinies forever linked by the God who chose to bless them both. The stories of Sarah and Hagar, the mothers of Isaac and Ishmael, stand as a testament to the enduring power of God's promises, the complexities of human relationships, and the far-reaching impact of our choices. They remind us that God is at work even in the midst of our struggles, that He sees and cares for the marginalized and oppressed, and that His grace has the power to redeem our brokenness and bring forth blessing from unexpected places. Section 1. Deborah, a woman of wisdom and authority. In the book of Judges, a book that chronicles a turbulent period in Israel's history, a period marked by cycles of disobedience, oppression, and deliverance, the figure of Deborah stands tall, a beacon of wisdom, courage, and unwavering faith. Deborah, whose very name means bee, embodies the qualities of industry, order, and community, characteristics that will define her leadership and shape her destiny as a prophetess, a judge, and a deliverer of her people. Deborah's story unfolds against a backdrop of societal norms that often relegated women to the domestic sphere, their voices rarely heard in the public square. Yet Deborah, empowered by the Spirit of God, transcends these limitations, emerging as a woman of extraordinary influence and authority. She is described as a prophetess, a spokesperson for God, entrusted with delivering His words of warning, guidance, and hope to a nation in need of direction. As a judge in Israel, Deborah holds a position of significant authority, a role that extended beyond the realm of the spiritual and into the very heart of Israel's legal and governmental systems. Seated beneath a palm tree, a symbol of justice and righteousness, Deborah hears the disputes of her people, offering wise counsel, mediating conflicts, and ensuring that justice prevails throughout the land. Her wisdom, her fairness, and her unwavering commitment to righteousness earn her the respect and admiration of all who seek her out. Deborah's leadership, however, is not confined to the peaceful resolution of disputes. She is also called upon to lead Israel in battle, to confront the forces of oppression that threaten to enslave her people. In a time when military might was often equated with masculinity, Deborah's willingness to embrace this challenging role speaks volumes about her courage, her faith, and her unwavering commitment to God's purposes for her life and for the nation of Israel. Section 2. A Nation in Need, Israel's cry for deliverance. The book of Judges paints a sobering picture of Israel's spiritual and political state during this period. The Israelites, having turned away from God and embraced the idolatrous practices of the surrounding nations, find themselves under the oppressive rule of Jabin, a Canaanite king, and his ruthless military commander, Sisera, whose iron chariots and vast armies strike terror into the hearts of the Israelites. For 20 long years, Israel groans under the weight of Jabin's cruel reign. Their spirits are crushed, their faith weakened, their hope dwindling with each passing day. The once mighty nation that had crossed the Jordan River into the Promised Land now finds itself enslaved in its own territory, their cries for deliverance seemingly echoing unanswered in the heavens. It is against this backdrop of oppression and despair that God raises up Deborah, a woman of extraordinary courage and conviction, to lead his people to freedom. Deborah, moved by the plight of her people and empowered by the Spirit of God, becomes a rallying point for the nation, a symbol of hope in a time of darkness, a voice of defiance in the face of tyranny. Deborah's call to leadership is not one she sought out, nor is it one she embraces lightly. She understands the gravity of the situation, the challenges that lie ahead, and the risks involved in confronting a powerful and ruthless enemy. Yet her faith in God's promises, her compassion for her people, and her unwavering belief in the power of righteousness compel her to answer the call, to step boldly into the role that God has prepared for her. Section 3. The Battle of the Kishon. Divine Strategy and Feminine Courage. Deborah, guided by the Spirit of God, summons Barak, a military leader from the tribe of Naphtali, and delivers to him God's battle plan, a plan that will pit Israel's relatively small and poorly equipped army against Sisera's mighty forces on the plains of Mount Tabor, overlooking the river Kishon. It is a plan that seems audacious, even reckless, relying more on divine intervention than on military might. Barak, though a seasoned warrior, hesitates, his faith seemingly shaken by the enormity of the task before him. He makes an unusual request of Deborah. "If you go with me, I will go, but if you don't go with me, I won't go." Deborah, undeterred by Barak's lack of faith, agrees to accompany him, but not without issuing a prophetic word. "I will surely go with you. Nevertheless, there will be no glory for you in the journey you are taking, for the Lord will sell Sisera into the hand of a woman." The stage is set for a confrontation that will test the limits of human courage and the depths of God's faithfulness. The Israelites, inspired by Deborah's leadership and emboldened by her unwavering faith, march out to face their oppressors. The battle, as Deborah had prophesied, unfolds according to God's design, with the elements themselves conspiring to bring about Israel's victory. A torrential downpour transforms the battlefield into a muddy quagmire, rendering Sisera's iron chariots useless and throwing his army into disarray. Sisera, his army routed, his chariots bogged down in the mud, flees on foot, seeking refuge in the tent of Jael, a Kenite woman whose tribe had remained neutral in the conflict. Jael, welcoming Sisera into her tent, offers him milk and a place to rest. But then, in a stunning act of courage and cunning, she drives a tent peg through his temple as he sleeps, fulfilling Deborah's prophecy and securing Israel's victory. Section 4. A Song of Triumph, celebrating God's victory and Deborah's leadership. The aftermath of the battle is marked by jubilant celebration and profound gratitude for God's deliverance. Deborah, together with Barak, breaks forth into a song of victory, a song that not only recounts the events of the battle, but also exalts God's faithfulness, celebrates the courage of those who fought for freedom, and immortalizes Deborah's leadership in the annals of Israel's history. The Song of Deborah, recorded in Judges chapter 5, stands as one of the oldest and most powerful pieces of Hebrew poetry, a testament to the enduring legacy of this remarkable woman and her pivotal role in Israel's history. The song, rich in imagery and metaphor, paints a vivid picture of the battle, the chaos, the courage of the Israelites, and the humiliating defeat of Sisera and his army. Yet the song is more than just a recounting of past events. It is a celebration of God's faithfulness to His promises, His power to deliver His people from oppression, and His willingness to use even the most unlikely of instruments, a woman in a patriarchal society, to accomplish His purposes. Deborah's leadership, once unthinkable in a culture dominated by men, becomes a testament to the transformative power of God's Spirit and the boundless potential that lies dormant within those who are willing to answer His call. Deborah's story, though rooted in the ancient world, speaks with a resonance that echoes through the ages. She stands as a beacon of hope for all who find themselves marginalized, oppressed, or overlooked. Her life and leadership remind us that God is not bound by our expectations, that He sees beyond the limitations we impose upon ourselves and others, and that He is able to use anyone, regardless of gender, social standing, or past experiences, to accomplish His extraordinary purposes. Ruth, a woman of unwavering loyalty. Ruth, a Moabite woman, could have easily faded into obscurity, yet her commitment to Naomi and her humble spirit elevate her to a place of honor. Ruth's story is a tale of love that transcends borders and defies cultural norms. Her loyalty to Naomi stands as a beacon of selfless love and human connection. Ruth's conscious choice to journey with Naomi shapes her destiny and reverberates through generations. From Moab to Bethlehem, a journey of faith and loss. Ruth's journey is marked by profound loss and unwavering faith. Tragedy strikes, leaving Ruth, Orpah, and Naomi as widows in a foreign land. Naomi decides to return to Bethlehem, urging her daughters-in-law to stay in Moab. Orpah returns to her family, but Ruth refuses to leave Naomi. Ruth's words of commitment to Naomi echo through the centuries. She leaves behind her homeland to embrace uncertainty and trust in the God of Israel. Ruth's journey is a testament to love, loyalty, and faith. Gleaning in the fields, humility and divine providence. Ruth and Naomi arrive in Bethlehem destitute. Ruth gleans leftover grain to provide for them, showcasing her humility and determination. Boaz, a wealthy landowner, notices Ruth and extends kindness to her. This encounter, orchestrated by divine providence, sets in motion events leading to Ruth's redemption and Naomi's restoration. Boaz embodies compassion, integrity, and faithfulness to God's law. He treats Ruth with respect, valuing her work ethic and loyalty to Naomi. Boaz goes beyond social customs, ensuring Ruth's safety and well-being. As a kinsman redeemer, Boaz willingly embraces his role, demonstrating his integrity and compassion. Boaz's actions transform Ruth's life and have far-reaching implications for Israel. Ruth's lineage will eventually produce King David, a man after God's own heart. Mary, the mother of Jesus, shines brightly in human history. Her story is a testament to faith and the transformative power of God's grace. Mary, though humble, possessed a heart open to God's unexpected workings. Her life is a testament to faith, courage, and the honor of participating in God's plan. Mary's story offers timeless lessons on humility, obedience, and God's boundless grace. The Annunciation is a pivotal moment in human history. The angel Gabriel appears to Mary with a divine message. Mary, though troubled, responds with faith and obedience. She asks for clarification and accepts the responsibility of becoming the mother of the Messiah. Mary's yes to God's plan forever alters human history. Her story is a testament to faith, courage, and the privilege of participating in God's redemptive plan. In that moment of surrender, heaven and earth collide. Section 3. Motherhood and Ministry. Walking in Obedience. Mary's journey of faith takes an unexpected turn as she navigates societal challenges. She gives birth to Jesus in a humble stable, cradling the Son of God. Mary witnesses Jesus' extraordinary wisdom and growing awareness of his divine mission. Throughout Jesus' ministry, Mary remains a constant presence, a silent supporter. She is there at his first miracle and in the crowds that flock to hear him teach. Mary stands at the foot of the cross, her faith tested as she witnesses the ultimate act of love and sacrifice. Section 4. At the foot of the cross, a mother's sorrow, a disciple's faith. The Gospel narratives, in their unflinching portrayal of Jesus' crucifixion, do not shy away from depicting the raw, visceral grief of his mother, Mary. As she stands at the foot of the cross, her heart shattered by the sight of her son, her beloved Jesus, nailed to a wooden beam, her faith is tested in ways she could never have imagined. The weight of his suffering, the agony etched on his face, the taunts of the crowd all converge upon her, threatening to overwhelm her spirit. Yet even in this moment of unimaginable sorrow, Mary's faith does not waver. Her tears, though flowing freely, do not extinguish the flame of belief that burns brightly within her soul. She has walked with Jesus, witnessed his miracles, heard his teachings, and experienced firsthand the depth of his love and compassion. She knows in the depths of her being that even in this, his darkest hour, God is at work accomplishing his eternal purpose. In John's Gospel, we see Jesus in his final moments entrusting the care of his mother to his beloved disciple, John, a poignant reminder that even in the throes of death, he is thinking of those he loves, ensuring their well-being. "Woman," Jesus says to his mother, "here is your son." And to John he says, "Here is your mother." From that hour, John takes Mary into his home, offering her the comfort of companionship and the solace of shared grief. Mary's presence at the foot of the cross is a testament not only to the depth of a mother's love, but also to the unwavering faith of a disciple. She stands as a witness to the ultimate act of sacrifice, the outpouring of God's love for humanity in the person of her Son Jesus. And though her heart is heavy with sorrow, her spirit remains unbroken, for she knows that death, though a cruel thief, will not have the final word. Section 1. Women at the heart of Jesus' ministry, breaking barriers, extending grace. Jesus, in his earthly ministry, challenged societal norms and religious traditions that had long marginalized and silenced women. He saw beyond the limitations imposed by culture and recognized the inherent dignity and worth of every individual, regardless of gender, social standing, or past mistakes. His interactions with women, often characterized by compassion, respect, and a willingness to engage in meaningful dialogue, stand in stark contrast to the patriarchal attitudes prevalent in his day. The Gospel narratives are replete with examples of Jesus breaking social and religious barriers to reach out to women in need. He heals the woman with the issue of blood, a woman deemed ritually unclean and ostracized from society, restoring her not only to physical health, but also to social acceptance and spiritual wholeness. He commends the faith of the Syrophoenician woman, a foreigner who, in her desperate plea for her daughter's healing, challenges Jesus' own assumptions and expands his understanding of the reach of God's mercy. Jesus' interactions with women were not merely acts of compassion or social reform. They were intentional subversions of a system that had, for too long, relegated women to the margins of religious life. He welcomed women as disciples, allowing them to sit at his feet, to learn from his teachings, and to participate in his ministry, roles traditionally reserved for men. He engaged women in theological discussions, valuing their insights, respecting their questions, and challenging them to grow in their understanding of God's love and grace. In a world that often sought to silence women's voices, Jesus amplified them, inviting them to share their stories, to bear witness to his miracles, and to proclaim the good news of the kingdom of God. He recognized the unique gifts and perspectives that women brought to his ministry, and he empowered them to use their voices to challenge injustice, to extend compassion, and to share the transformative message of his love with a world in desperate need of hope. The encounter between Jesus and the Samaritan woman at the well, recounted in the Gospel of John, stands as a powerful testament to Jesus' willingness to engage in meaningful dialogue with women, to challenge societal prejudices, and to offer the life-giving water of his grace to all who thirst for it. The story unfolds on a hot afternoon, with Jesus, weary from his travels, pausing to rest at Jacob's well, a place steeped in history and cultural significance. As Jesus sits by the well, a Samaritan woman approaches, her presence immediately challenging social and religious norms. Samaritans and Jews, divided by centuries of historical animosity and theological differences, typically avoided interaction. Moreover, this woman, whose life has been marked by broken relationships and social stigma, represents a segment of society often overlooked and marginalized. Yet Jesus, in a radical departure from cultural expectations, initiates a conversation with her, a conversation that will forever alter the course of her life. The dialogue between Jesus and the Samaritan woman is remarkable for its depth, its honesty, and its transformative power. Jesus, in his characteristically insightful way, cuts through the woman's defenses, addressing the pain of her past, revealing his knowledge of her life story, and offering her a different way, a better way, a way that leads to true fulfillment and lasting peace. He speaks to her of living water, a metaphor for the spiritual nourishment and eternal life that he alone can offer, quenching the thirst of her soul in a way that no earthly well ever could. The Samaritan woman, initially resistant, her heart hardened by years of rejection and shame, gradually softens to Jesus' words. She recognizes in him something different, something extraordinary, something that stirs a longing within her soul that she has never experienced before. The encounter at the well becomes a turning point in her life, a moment of profound transformation, as she encounters the love, acceptance, and forgiveness offered freely by the one who knows her deepest secrets and loves her still. Mary Magdalene, a woman whose life was radically transformed by her encounter with Jesus, emerges from the gospel narratives as a devoted disciple, a courageous witness, and a poignant symbol of the power of God's grace to redeem even the most broken of lives. Her story, often shrouded in misinterpretation and shrouded in legend, is ultimately a testament to the transformative power of faith, the unwavering loyalty of a disciple, and the profound privilege of being the first to proclaim the good news of Jesus' resurrection. The Gospels tell us that Mary Magdalene had been delivered from 7 demons, a phrase that speaks to the depth of her brokenness, the darkness that had once consumed her life. While the exact nature of her affliction remains unclear, the imagery suggests a life ensnared by spiritual, emotional, or physical torment, a life longing for liberation and healing. In Jesus, Mary Magdalene finds not only deliverance from her past, but also a sense of purpose, belonging, and unwavering love that transforms her world. Mary Magdalene becomes a faithful follower of Jesus, her life intertwined with his ministry, her heart devoted to his teachings. She is among the women who provide for Jesus and his disciples out of their own resources, demonstrating her practical support for his mission. She is present at the crucifixion, her heart breaking as she witnesses the brutal death of the one who had set her free. And she is among the first to arrive at the tomb on that first Easter morning, her grief palpable, her love for Jesus undiminished by his death. It is Mary Magdalene who, in a moment of breathtaking revelation, encounters the risen Jesus outside the empty tomb. Her tears of sorrow turn to shouts of joy as she recognizes her beloved Rabbi, alive and well, the power of death shattered by the glory of his resurrection. Jesus, in his resurrected body, commissions Mary Magdalene to go and tell his disciples the good news, making her the first evangelist, the first herald of the resurrection, the one chosen to proclaim the message that would forever change the course of human history. Section 4. Women in the Early Church, Pillars of Faith, Agents of Transformation. The Book of Acts, a chronicle of the early church's explosive growth and expansion, reveals the vital role that women played in spreading the message of Jesus Christ and establishing communities of faith throughout the Roman Empire. Far from being relegated to the sidelines, women emerge as leaders, teachers, evangelists, patrons, and hosts, their contributions shaping the church's identity and influencing its impact on a world hungry for the hope and transformation offered by the gospel. In the early chapters of Acts, we witness the outpouring of the Holy Spirit on the day of Pentecost, an event that empowers both men and women to proclaim the gospel with boldness and authority. Peter, in his sermon on that day, quotes the prophet Joel, saying, "In the last days God says, I will pour out my Spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy, your young men will see visions, your old men will dream dreams. Even on my servants, both men and women, I will pour out my Spirit in those days, and they will prophesy." Acts 2:17-18. This outpouring of the Spirit on both men and women signals a radical departure from traditional Jewish customs, which often restricted women's roles in religious life. The early church, empowered by the Spirit and guided by the teachings of Jesus, embraces a more inclusive model, recognizing the gifts and callings of both men and women as essential to the fulfillment of its mission. Throughout the Book of Acts, we encounter women who embody this spirit of inclusion and who make significant contributions to the growth and vitality of the early church. We meet Lydia, a successful businesswoman from Thyatira, who, upon hearing the gospel message from the Apostle Paul, opens her heart and her home to him and his companions, becoming a pillar of the fledgling church in Philippi. We encounter Priscilla, a skilled teacher and leader, who, along with her husband Aquila, instructs Apollos, a gifted but somewhat misguided preacher, in the way of the Lord, ensuring that the message he proclaims is accurate and life-giving. And we meet Phoebe, commended by Paul as a deacon in the church at Cenchreae, a woman entrusted with a position of responsibility and service within the community of faith. Section 1. Echoes of Faith, the Enduring Legacy of Biblical Women. As we draw to a close of our exploration into the lives of these remarkable women of the Bible, we find ourselves not at the end of a story, but at the cusp of a deeper understanding of faith, courage, and the enduring power of God's love. These women, though separated from us by millennia, speak to us across the ages, their voices echoing through the corridors of time, their stories offering timeless lessons that transcend cultural and historical boundaries. From Eve, the mother of all living, we learn that even in the face of our failures, God's grace is greater still, offering redemption, restoration, and the promise of a future filled with hope. From Sarah and Hagar, we glean insights into the complexities of human relationships, the challenges of navigating cultural expectations, and the unwavering faithfulness of God to fulfill His promises, even when they unfold in ways we could never have anticipated. Deborah's leadership challenges us to embrace the fullness of who God has created us to be, to step boldly into the roles He has prepared for us, and to use our voices to challenge injustice, to champion the oppressed, and to lead with courage and conviction. Ruth's unwavering loyalty to Naomi reminds us of the transformative power of love, the importance of honoring our commitments, and the unexpected blessings that flow from a heart surrendered to God's purposes. And from Mary, the mother of Jesus, we learn the profound meaning of surrender, the quiet strength found in obedience, and the immeasurable privilege of participating in God's redemptive plan for the world. These women, in their unique and often challenging journeys, become for us not just characters in a distant narrative, but companions in faith, their stories offering encouragement, guidance, and a deeper understanding of the boundless love and grace that God extends to all who seek Him. Section 2. Beyond the stereotypes, embracing the fullness of God's design. The stories of these biblical women challenge us to move beyond the narrow stereotypes and limited expectations that society often imposes, inviting us to embrace a more expansive view of God's design for both women and men. These women were not content to be relegated to the sidelines or confined to the domestic sphere. They were leaders, prophets, entrepreneurs, mothers and disciples, each using their unique gifts and callings to make a difference in their world. Deborah's military leadership, Esther's political savvy, and Priscilla's theological acumen shatter the notion that women are incapable of holding positions of authority or influence. Their stories remind us that God is not bound by our limited perspectives, that He sees beyond gender roles and societal expectations, and that He equips and empowers both men and women to participate fully in His redemptive work in the world. The women of the Bible, in their diversity of experiences and expressions of faith, remind us that there is no single mold for womanhood, no prescribed path that all women must follow. God's design for our lives is as unique and varied as the individuals He has created. He calls us to be mothers and mentors, artists and activists, teachers and theologians, entrepreneurs and engineers, using our passions, gifts and experiences to make a difference in our homes, our communities and our world. The challenge for us, as we engage with these inspiring stories, is to allow them to challenge our own assumptions, to broaden our perspectives, and to create space for the women in our lives to embrace the fullness of who God has created them to be, without limitations or restrictions. It is a call to celebrate the diversity of gifts and callings within the body of Christ, recognizing that both men and women are created in the image of God, endowed with inherent dignity, and called to participate fully in His redemptive work in the world. Section 3. A tapestry of grace, weaving our stories into God's narrative. The stories of these biblical women remind us that our lives are not isolated threads, but interwoven strands in a grand and intricate tapestry. woven together by the hand of a loving and sovereign God. Each life, though seemingly insignificant in the grand scheme of things, holds a unique place in God's eternal plan, each story contributing to the unfolding narrative of His redemptive work in the world. As we reflect on the lives of these women, we are invited to consider our own place in God's story. What threads of faith, courage, and obedience is God weaving into the tapestry of our lives? What opportunities has He placed before us to make a difference in our families, our communities, and our world? How are our stories, with their joys and sorrows, their triumphs and failures, contributing to the grand narrative of His love and grace? The women of the Bible, though their stories are etched in the pages of Scripture, are not distant figures from a bygone era. They are our sisters in faith, their lives offering encouragement, guidance, and inspiration as we navigate the challenges and embrace the opportunities of our own journeys. Their stories remind us that God is at work in the world, that He sees our struggles, hears our prayers, and longs to use our lives in all their messy and beautiful complexity to bring hope, healing, and transformation to a world in desperate need of His love. May their stories ignite within us a passion to live lives of purpose and significance, to embrace the fullness of who God has created us to be, and to join with Him in weaving our stories into the grand and beautiful tapestry of His grace. And as we do, may we find ourselves like these women of faith, leaving behind a legacy that will inspire generations to come. Thanks for watching. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and share.